The silent observer. Let's start with one of the most chilling and dangerously overlooked signs that someone in your life may not just dislike you but may secretly want you gone. I call it the silent observer. This person isn't just a passive social media lurker or your typical neighborhood gossip with too much time on their hands. No, what you're dealing with here is something far more deliberate, calculated, and sinister. These people don't merely watch you. They study you. They memorize your daily routines, track your movements, and collect personal details with a level of precision that resembles military reconnaissance more than casual curiosity. What makes them so dangerous is their ability to blend in. They operate silently, showing no outward signs of hostility. Most people would never even notice their presence, and that's the point. Imagine this. Someone knows your exact coffee order even though you've never had a real conversation about it. They happen to show up at your local park, your gym, or your favorite grocery store always around the same time you do. At first it feels like coincidence, but slowly unease begins to creep in because it stops feeling random. Here's the terrifying part. This kind of behavior often flies under the radar because we've been conditioned to brush off subtle patterns as paranoia. We're told not to jump to conclusions, but predators count on that hesitation. They exploit your doubt. They rely on you second-guessing yourself so they can stay hidden in plain sight. Take the story of Christine, for example, a mid-level manager who ended a long-term relationship with her ex-boyfriend months ago. She noticed him popping up in familiar places, first at the park, then at the grocery store, eventually at the new gym she had joined after the breakup. At first, she chalked it up to chance. Maybe he was just having trouble letting go. But the pattern wouldn't stop. Even when she changed her routines, he somehow found his way back into her orbit. No words, no threats, just consistent, quiet presence. Her friends dismissed it as harmless obsession, but Christine's gut told her otherwise. What she realized far too late was that this wasn't about heartbreak. It wasn't about love. It was about control. And that's exactly what the silent observer wants: to eliminate uncertainty and gain an upper hand. Their calm demeanor and polite appearance are part of the disguise. On the surface, they seem harmless, but in reality, they are building a map of your life, learning the cracks in your routine and waiting for the moment when you least expect it. Stoic philosopher Epictetus once warned that wise individuals must remain not only watchful of others, but vigilant about their own inner peace and external order. When someone's presence consistently disrupts that peace, when they seem to know too much, show up too often, or insert themselves without a clear reason, it's time to stop excusing and start investigating. We now live in a world where surveillance doesn't require binoculars or a van parked outside your house. It only requires access that comes from your social media profiles, mutual acquaintances, and the habits you publicly share without realizing the risks. These predators are not the ones who shout or make scenes. They are the ones who smile politely while silently cataloging your every move. This is not about living in fear. It's about developing discernment. The Stoics believed that wisdom begins with clear observation and ends with decisive action. So if someone repeatedly appears in your life without an invitation, if their timing always seems too perfect, then that is not fate. That is a pattern. That is a red flag. Start paying attention to the people who linger too long, who show too much interest in details that don't concern them. Trust your instincts. Your discomfort is not paranoia. It is insight. When your soul feels unsettled, don't silence that inner warning voice. Honor it, because sometimes the scariest people are not the ones who threaten you to your face. They're the ones who move in silence, gathering information, biding their time, and waiting for you to drop your guard. The silent observer doesn't want confrontation. They want control. And the moment you dismiss their behavior as harmless is the moment you lose your advantage. Stay aware, stay guarded, and never ignore a pattern that feels just a little too intentional. Your safety may depend on it. The saboteur strategy. Here's a chilling truth in social psychology: studies have shown that when someone hears a lie about a person, even if it's later proven false, their perception of that person is still negatively affected. That's how powerful suggestion can be. And that is exactly what makes the saboteur strategy so dangerous. This tactic is not about temporary revenge or emotional outbursts. It's about systematic destruction. When someone wants more than to hurt you, when they want to erase your influence, isolate you, or remove you completely from a group or network, they don't strike openly. Instead, they operate in the shadows, turning the people closest to you against you without ever raising their voice. The saboteur doesn't confront you. They don't need to. Instead, they begin a quiet campaign of character assassination designed to dismantle your support system piece by piece. It starts small, an offhand comment to a coworker that you're unreliable, a subtle hint to a friend that you've changed, or maybe a well-timed story implying that your loyalty can't be trusted. They never accuse directly. They only plant seeds of doubt, confusion, and suspicion. And that's the brilliance of it. Each individual moment seems harmless. Each whisper seems isolated. But together they form a coordinated attack that slowly changes how others see you. Your friends become distant. Your boss grows skeptical. Your once safe relationships start to erode, and you can't quite understand why. The saboteur creates chaos but never appears in the storm. They are always just out of sight, always just the concerned party or the innocent bystander. This kind of manipulation is far more dangerous than open hostility. When someone lies to your face, at least you know where they stand. But the saboteur smiles, nods, and plays the victim while pulling strings behind the scenes. Eventually, even you may begin to question your own stability. You wonder why everything is falling apart at the same time. Why friends won't return your calls. Why coworkers seem colder. The truth is that the saboteur has turned the people around you into pawns in a game you didn't know you were playing. And they play it well. They orchestrate small conflicts, stir up misunderstandings, and amplify your mistakes to make you appear irrational or unstable. They present themselves as concerned allies. I don't know what's going on with them, they might say, feigning worry. They're just not themselves lately. From a Stoic perspective, this tactic is especially cruel because it directly attacks your sense of order, clarity, and inner strength. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." But the saboteur doesn't offer a single clear obstacle. They cloak the truth in shadows and confusion, making it difficult to find a path forward. And if you're not careful, you begin to act out of frustration. You react instead of reflect, and that's exactly what they want. The more you speak to defend yourself, the more suspicious you seem. You try to explain, to clarify, to prove your innocence, but each effort makes you look more desperate. That's why awareness is your first defense. Do not chase every rumor. Do not try to clear your name in every room. Anchor yourself in evidence. Stay grounded in truth. And just as important, protect yourself strategically. Document everything: emails, text messages, timelines. Keep records that confirm your side of events. Be precise, not emotional. Build your circle carefully, surrounding yourself only with those who have shown true loyalty and consistency over time. And don't feel guilty for setting strong boundaries. The Stoics and sacred scripture both teach that character is revealed over time, not in moments of chaos. People may be misled for a while, but the truth has a way of enduring. The soul, like truth, does not decay under pressure. It holds. So when you notice someone always hovering near your conflicts, someone who always seems present during moments of doubt or miscommunication, stop giving them the benefit of the doubt. Their presence is not a coincidence. Their concern is not genuine. They are not helping you. They are manipulating the narrative. You are not just dealing with a gossip. You are facing a strategist of destruction, someone whose purpose is to isolate you so that when they strike hardest, you are alone. The first step to winning that battle: refuse to play their game. Don't chase their shadows. Let your actions speak. Let your integrity shine over time. Most of all, never let their lies make you doubt your truth. The false friend facade. This is where things start to get especially dark. The third and perhaps most deceptive sign that someone doesn't just dislike you but may be quietly working toward your downfall is what I call the false friend facade. It is one of the oldest strategies in human history, and yet it remains one of the hardest to detect. Why? Because we are conditioned to associate kindness with virtue. We've been taught that warmth, friendliness, and emotional closeness automatically signal trust and loyalty. But the truth is, when someone suddenly shifts from a distant acquaintance to a deeply invested friend without any clear reason, it's time to stop celebrating and start paying attention. These individuals are not trying to earn your trust. They are trying to bypass it. They are not entering your life to build a meaningful relationship. They are there to gain access to you, your routines, your secrets, and your vulnerabilities. At first, it feels good. After all, who doesn't want to be seen, understood, and supported? They ask about your life, your fears, your struggles. They show interest in your relationships, your past traumas, your career. They listen closely, they offer help. They make you feel special. But behind the empathy and encouragement lies a carefully constructed performance. They are not there to help you heal. They are there to gather intelligence. Every detail you share is another tool in their toolbox. Every weakness you reveal is a pressure point they can exploit later. They will often try to integrate themselves into your inner circle. They get close to your family. They linger in your workspace. They offer to help with errands, offer emotional support, or show up during tough times. It looks like loyalty, but it is surveillance dressed in compassion. And that's what makes it so dangerous, because you feel emotionally safe, your defenses drop, you let them in. You start trusting them with your schedule, your opinions, your dreams. Meanwhile, they're building a map of your emotional world, an exact blueprint of how to reach your most vulnerable places. From a Stoic point of view, this kind of person is especially insidious. Seneca once said, "A friend is someone you trust with your soul." But he also warned that such trust must be earned, not given freely to anyone who smiles and listens well. Discernment, or what the Stoics called sophron, was considered essential to emotional security. It means thinking before speaking, holding back before sharing, and evaluating the true intentions behind someone's sudden closeness. When someone rushes into your life without a natural progression, when their interest feels too intense, too personal, or too fast, it's not just flattering. It could be a tactic. Predators, manipulators, and saboteurs know how to mirror your behavior. They know how to echo your language and even share their own vulnerable stories to make you feel safe enough to do the same. But this is a trap. They are building trust not to protect you but to disarm you. And the worst part, no one suspects them. Not your family, not your friends, maybe not even you. Because they are charming, helpful, warm, and always seem to have your best interests at heart. That's why you must move slowly. If someone's presence in your life accelerates rapidly, press pause. Ask yourself what changed, why now? Protect your privacy. Set boundaries. Do not share sensitive information just because someone seems kind or says all the right things. Real friendship develops gradually. It's tested over time through mutual care, consistency, and earned trust. But sabotage thrives in speed and emotion. The false friend wants not just your affection, they want your weaknesses. And the moment they collect enough, they will know exactly where and how to strike. So what should you do? Stay kind, yes. Stay generous, yes. But stay wise. Kindness does not mean giving away access to every corner of your life. Warmth does not mean handing over control. When someone appears out of nowhere and suddenly knows too much, slow the connection. Observe their motives and don't confuse emotional closeness with actual loyalty. When evil wears a friendly face, it isn't connection. It's camouflage. Trust is sacred. Let it grow, don't give it away. The false friend isn't just a bad influence. They are a quiet storm disguised as shelter. And the sooner you recognize the mask, the better chance you have of keeping your peace intact and your heart protected. Escalating aggression. The fourth and perhaps most horrifyingly overlooked sign that someone may want you gone is what I call calculated escalation. When someone harbors dark intentions, they don't usually start with violence. Instead, they test the waters slowly, methodically, conditioning you to tolerate behavior that becomes more disturbing over time. It often starts with what seems like harmless remarks. Offhand jokes that carry disturbing undertones. Comments like, "I could kill you right now," followed by a laugh. Or stories about violence disguised as humor or edgy banter. But make no mistake, these are not just tasteless jokes, they are probing statements designed to test your reaction and push your boundaries one step at a time. Let me share a real example that still chills experienced investigators. In 2016, a young woman named Leah moved into a new apartment complex after landing her first job out of college. She met Adam, a neighbor who seemed awkward but friendly enough. At first, he offered help with groceries or chatted in the elevator. Then he started asking oddly specific questions about her daily routine. At a building cookout, Adam made a bizarre comment. He said he'd be the perfect killer because he knew how to dispose of evidence. Everyone laughed nervously. Leah felt unsettled but tried to brush it off. Over time, his behavior became more invasive. He began showing up in hallways exactly when she left for work. He would brush past her shoulder without apologizing. One day he blocked her apartment door saying he just needed to talk. Then came the turning point. One evening, Leah found a hunting knife placed neatly on her doormat. No note, no explanation, just the weapon. When she reported it, authorities initially dismissed it as a prank. But Leah didn't. She installed a security camera, changed her locks, and began documenting everything. Within a month, her camera recorded Adam at her door at 2 a.m. He was wearing gloves and carrying a black duffel bag. He was trying to pick her lock. He was later arrested, and investigators found a disturbing journal. It contained detailed notes about Leah's habits, favorite places, and something far more alarming, a timeline labeled execution window. This story reveals a terrifying truth. People with dangerous intentions often start small. They do not move suddenly. They desensitize you. What first seems like an inappropriate joke soon turns into proximity violations. What seems like awkward behavior becomes planned intrusion. Each act is designed to test your response and see how far they can go without resistance. The Stoic philosophers warned against trusting appearances. Seneca once said, "He who is forewarned is forearmed." The goal is not to live in fear, but to live with awareness. If someone in your life regularly crosses boundaries and brushes it off as humor, pay attention. If their jokes include violent imagery or threats disguised as sarcasm, that is not a personality quirk. That is a red flag. If they invade your space, test your patience, or seem more interested in your fear than your comfort, it is time to act. Calculated aggression is rarely impulsive. It is planned, and it escalates when left unchecked. The longer you allow it, the deeper it grows. And the more accustomed you become to discomfort, the more vulnerable you become to danger. You do not need to wait for someone to physically harm you before taking action. Your safety is not something to gamble with. Document strange behavior. Tell someone you trust. Set boundaries that are non-negotiable. And never ignore that voice inside that says something isn't right. Sometimes survival begins with believing yourself. You don't need permission to be cautious. You don't need evidence to trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, it usually is. The patient predator. Now we come to the final and most dangerous sign of all, the one that is easiest to overlook and hardest to defend against. It is what I call the patient predator. This is not the person who lashes out in rage, throws insults, or makes threats in the heat of the moment. The patient predator is much more dangerous because they do not act on impulse. They act on strategy. Their weapon is not anger. It is patience. They are calm, composed, and often incredibly polite. They don't appear threatening. In fact, they often appear trustworthy. They smile when they talk to you. They ask about your plans. They offer help. They listen when others don't. But beneath that calm, helpful exterior is someone who is playing the long game. They are collecting information not to connect with you, but to use it when the time is right. They want to know when you'll be away from home, when you're alone, when your routine changes, or when your support system is weaker. Every favor they offer, every question they ask, and every memory they create with you is part of a script they have rehearsed over and over. The most terrifying part is how normal they seem. They could be your dependable coworker, your polite neighbor, or even the friend who remembers your birthday better than your own family. But their kindness is a disguise. Their reliability is bait. And they don't rush. They wait, sometimes for months, sometimes for years. They watch your guard slowly drop. They wait for you to stop paying attention. And when the timing is perfect, they strike. Stoic philosopher Epictetus once warned that the greatest threats in life are not the ones we see, but the ones we overlook. First say to yourself what you would be, he wrote, and then do what you have to do. In other words, live intentionally and stay aware. Because when someone wears a perfect mask, what you see is not who they are. It's who they want you to believe they are. The patient predator doesn't make mistakes. They don't get sloppy. They let you do that. They wait for the moment you overshare. They wait until you stop locking your door. They wait for your relationships to fray, or your job to change, or your emotional state to weaken. And when the moment comes, they act without hesitation. So how can you protect yourself? Start by being slow to give away deep trust. If someone pushes too hard to get close, ask why. If they seem overly invested in your personal life, without a clear reason, take a step back. Protect your schedule. Guard your private plans. And stop confusing kindness with unquestioned access. You can still be warm. You can still be generous. But do not fall asleep emotionally just because nothing seems wrong. In fact, that is often when the danger is highest, when everything feels too quiet, too smooth, too perfect. The Stoic mindset teaches us to stay prepared, not paranoid, to act with clarity, not fear, and that means listening when your instincts whisper that someone's interest in you feels off, that their timing is too perfect, that their presence is too consistent. If someone came to mind while reading this, don't dismiss it. Don't convince yourself you're imagining things. If you've seen the silent observer, the manipulative saboteur, the false friend, the boundary-pushing aggressor, or the cold and calculated predator in your own life, you are not just dealing with difficult people. You may be standing in the crosshairs of someone who wants you gone. Awareness is your defense. Boundaries are your protection. And instinct, when honored, is your lifeline. Stay alert, stay guarded, and most of all, stay alive. Based on the warning signs revealed in the story above, the most important advice you can apply to your life right now is this: never ignore your instincts. In a world where appearances can be deceiving, learning to trust that subtle inner discomfort could protect not only your peace but your safety. Begin by observing patterns, not words. If someone repeatedly shows up in your life without being invited, asks unusually detailed questions, or tries to gain your trust too quickly, pause. Examine their motives before handing over access to your time, thoughts, or emotional life. Learn to protect your privacy like it's sacred. Not everyone who smiles at you has good intentions. Some people gather your vulnerabilities the same way a predator studies prey, quietly, patiently, and with purpose. Maintain emotional boundaries. Be careful with what you share and with whom. Kindness doesn't require full access to your personal world, and loyalty should be proven over time, not assumed through charm. If someone tries to isolate you from others, question their agenda. If someone's jokes or comments feel threatening or invasive, take them seriously. Document uncomfortable interactions. Keep a mental and physical record of anything that raises concern. And most importantly, don't let politeness or fear of judgment silence your voice. The Stoics taught that self-control, awareness, and reason are your strongest weapons. Use them to navigate relationships with clarity and strength. You don't need to live in fear, but you do need to live awake. Because the most dangerous people are often not loud or obvious. They are patient, calculated, and hiding behind a carefully crafted mask. Listen when your intuition whispers. Investigate when something feels off. And remember, peace is worth protecting even if it means walking away from someone who seems too nice to be dangerous. If this video opened your eyes, don't stop here. The next video will dive even deeper into the hidden tactics toxic people use to manipulate and control. It's knowledge that could protect your peace, your reputation, and even your life. Watch the next video now and learn how to recognize the subtle red flags before it's too late. Stay sharp, stay safe, and continue your journey to clarity and strength.